Is your apartment like a .com stock with an imminent crash in sight? Our next guest says he could be. It could be, and he should know the signs. Henry Blodgett, the author of New York Magazine's cover story, worrying about a real estate crash. And he joins us in studio to discuss the article. We also have dlenz, New York City's top real estate broker, with us. By the way, I just want to say that Henry cannot comment on any legal actions that he's involved in, so I'm not going to waste time asking him and then having him say I can't comment. What makes you think this is a risky market?
I think it's risky. I have no idea whether it's a bubble, and I don't think anybody does, and I think that's really sort of the lesson that comes out of the 1990s is how hard it is to determine that in advance. But you have a combination of rising prices, lots of supplies starting to come into the market now, and you have huge leverage in the mortgage market, and all of that together obviously creates a lot of risk.
Wait, is there lots of supply, Dolly? I was led to believe there wasn't.
There isn't lots of supply.
There isn't lots of supply now. I mean, the reason prices are going up is you have tremendous demand. But if you look at in New York City, for example, the number of new buildings that are going up, the number of building permits that have been issued has really increased since the mid-90s. So in real estate, obviously, there's always a lag, but it is starting to come on. The market forces are starting to work.
What do you think, Dolly?
Oh, I totally disagree. There is really not very much property to show at all. We have customers looking, we have 5 or 6 things to show them. They'd love a bigger choice. I totally disagree, and I think there's only 20,000 new units coming on the market over the next 3 years, which for a city like New York is not a lot.
Henry, when you compare the real estate market in New York City to what you saw covering the internet 5, 6, 7 years ago, what are the similarities, if there are any, that strike you?
I think it's very different, and no one would, I don't think you can get close to drawing that comparison. But I think what is similar is you do have a sort of philosophy now that real estate is the great investment. You can't lose money in real estate and so forth. And it has been over the last 10 years. It's been extraordinary. But if you go back, there have been periods where real estate has been a very poor investment, and I do think that sort of philosophy that we definitely saw in tech stocks is just dangerous. And as long as people don't overextend themselves, then it's fine. But I think that risk is there.
Dolly, there are those who say it's different this time. But, I grew up in New York. I've lived there all my life. I mean, we have seen ups and downs. There are some of us who can remember the early 80s, the late 70s, or even the early 90s, for that matter, where real estate did come down.
Oh, definitely. We all remember that, but that was also as a result of everyone building the exact same product. So much supply in studios, 1 bedroom, small 2 bedrooms, that it flooded the market with product.
And yet, once the market absorbed that product, prices resumed, right?
Correct.
Henry, one point to look at, though, this has got to be a little different than tech stocks or any other tech stock, or any stocks for that matter, because you live in your house, right? If you're looking at what might be a real estate bubble, how do you deal with it? You're not going to sell your house and get out.
Absolutely. And I don't think, and again, I'm the farthest thing from an expert in real estate. Dolly has that. I happen to live through the .com bubble, so I can recognize the similarities there, I think. But I think it's totally different investment. Again, if you're not overextended and you have a relatively long holding period, it makes perfect sense.
Now, you own in New York, too, I would guess.
I do, yes.
You have it sold, right, Henry?
I did sell one thing. I did try to predict the bubble based on my prior experience a couple of years ago, and it's only gone up 2x or 3x since then.
Have you been living in the trunk of your car since then?
Basically, right.
You got to live
You
someplace.
just can't do it. And, of course, if you try to time it like that, then you miss out on a huge bonanza and so forth. So it's just crazy. But I think the message is don't overextend.
Let me just move to the burbs just for a second. Overnight communities, because we had a piece last week, this huge house that I think Scott looked at, and it was 3 acres. It was huge. It had room for a tennis court. And he got done, he said, the price is $4.2 million. And I said, that cannot be near New York City. That's got to be 2 hours away. To be that cheap and this big,
that cheap?
That's got to be more than 30 minutes outside New York. So, these suburb prices are outlandish. Things are $5 million, and they barely look like they're worth $400,000 in the Midwest.
I would ask Dolly to comment on that. I mean,
Dolly, do you go outside the city, or?
Sure, we do a lot of sales outside the city. We represent Brooklyn, Long Island, the Hamptons. We do a majority of our sales outside.
Look, $4 million, 20 minutes from New York City. I mean, is it going to always? It's got to come down, isn't it?
20 minutes from New York City is a very reasonable commute. I mean, almost anybody would be very happy to do that.
I know, but you're talking about a $20,000 mortgage payment.
Hey, look, I sold a $45 million house 3 hours from New York City, so I don't know.
What about Dolly? What about the fact that economists and others complain about certain metrics like price to rent and things like that? Aren't we?
People really want to own, so they're not looking at those numbers. They really want to own. There's something wonderful about being able to paint your walls any color you want and not worry about it, being able to put built-ins. There is a real need to nest and to own. And I think it's very difficult to overcome that unless we really get off the charts, which I don't see us doing. I see the absorption is very steady. I see the demographics. Young people are coming into the market. Old people are coming back to New York. The private schools have such an oversupply of people wanting to attend, they don't know what to do.
All right.
And no, the only thing I'd add to that is I think that's absolutely true, and just a lot of it reminds me of the late 90s, where things were great, could continue to get better, and then changed very quickly, and there was no red light that suddenly went on.
Well, the one thing we didn't discuss was the interest rates, which are going up.
Yep.
Eventually.
Well, they're not going up that much.
Yeah.
No, right.
No.
All right. Thank you,
coming
Don.
back down.
Henry Blodgett, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks so
Cherry
much.
Hill Research, Dlenz with Douglas Elliman Real Estate. Coming up.